guys, it's Sabrina. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some books I've recently hauled. I'm not on a book buying ban, but I'm just trying to be more cognizant of my issue with buying books, because it really is an issue that I have. I spend way too much money and I have way too many books. So these have been acquired over the past few months, in my defense. I did not buy all of these at once. So let's get into it. The first book that I had to share with you is actually a poetry collection, and that is Ariel by Sylvia Plath. I recently read Sylvia Plath's biography and I was in love with it. It was amazing. And so it made me really want to read her poetry, because also in the biography, it's by Heather Clark, by the way, the biography, not this book. She critiques some of her poetry and she shares like excerpts of her poetry and connects that to her lived experiences. So I feel like going into her poetry now, I'm going to get so much more out of it and hopefully be able to understand it a bit more, because I do struggle with poetry personally. Like, I would have never seen myself picking up a poetry collection this year, especially paying, like, full price for one. But I think I'm gonna love it. I'm hoping I'm gonna love it. These aren't the poems that she wrote, like, right before her death, but they're her second out of her third collection. I think this includes, like, Lady Lazarus and Daddy, which are two of her most famous poems. I'm just really excited to get into this. I really hope that I can, like, enter my poetry era. Like, I really want to be into poetry so bad, but I just never like it that much. So I'm hoping, because this is Sylvia Plath and because I have that context of the biography, that I'll like this one a bit more. Then we have The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is actually a book that I've read before, and I remember not liking it that much and putting it down. But I've since come to appreciate more unique fantasies, and that's what this is. This is a really unique fantasy. I think I'm going to like this a lot more now. And I've also gone into a lot of N.K. Jemisin's work more recently in the past couple of years, and I've loved it. So I'm thinking it was just a fluke, honestly. Like, I think I'm gonna like this a lot on a reread. So this essentially follows our main character, who is from the north in this fantasy world, which is deemed as, like, barbarous. And her mother dies, and then she's summoned to the capital, where she finds out that she's an heiress to the king. So as you can imagine, shit goes crazy. I think she's also indigenous to this land, which sets her apart from others, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't remember, like, anything about this book, except that I just wasn't impressed by it. I don't even remember disliking it. I just remember thinking it was okay. So hopefully upon a reread, I'm gonna like it a lot more. Then we have a book that I know nothing about, and that is Immaculate Conception by Ling Huang. This is the author of Natural Beauty, and that is the sole reason I picked this up. I actually don't want to know what this book is about. I know that it's a horror book. I feel like it probably critiques the beauty industry, but I'm just going off of Natural Beauty for that. This is a new release that I'm so excited for. I can't wait to pick this up just because I love Natural Beauty so much. Like, it made this author an auto by author for me. So I'm going to read this very soon. I don't know if that video could come out before this one. It might. So you may have already seen my thoughts on this. But I'm so excited. Another new release, and probably my most anticipated release of the year, is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. I actually got a signed copy, which I'm so psyched about. Ocean Vuong is the author of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous and also some poetry collections. I didn't vibe with his poetry because I'm just not a poetry person, as I've already said. But I loved On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I really loved his prose. I thought he had the most beautiful lyrical writing style. I'm so excited for this one, because this one, the plot also sounds so good. So from what I understand, it follows a young, not like a young boy, but like a young adult, essentially. And he's sitting on a bridge and he's like contemplating committing suicide, and then an elderly woman who's suffering from dementia comes out of her house and convinces him not to jump. And from there, they form this unlikely friendship that goes on to really impact their lives. As someone who's also struggled with, like, depression and suicidal ideation, I think this book is really gonna touch me, also because my grandmother suffered from dementia and I was very close to my grandmother. So this just has, like, everything it needs to absolutely, like, demolish my heart, and I think it's going to. This is probably going to be my next read after I finish the book I'm currently reading. I'm so psyched for this. Like, I can't even explain how much I want to read this, and I've heard nothing but really amazing things. I've also heard that this book kind of, like, his philosophy about it is that it follows the lives of people who may not, like, I don't know how to phrase this. I want to say, like, may not make it, but that's not exactly the word. Like, I'm thinking about people who work, like, full-time jobs at, like, fast food joints, or do things that aren't typically considered, like, successful careers, whatever that means. But typically stories focus on these people who did these, like, ambitious, amazing things, and some people don't live lives like that, and this book focuses on those people and how their lives are still worthy and how their lives are still important. And I think that's really interesting as well. I just can't wait to go into this. I'm so excited. Next is another new release. Can you tell what kind of video I'm doing soon? And that is The Lamb by Lucy Rose. Honestly, this is like 90% a cover buy, but it's also a horror book, which I'm obviously interested in. And for what I understand, it follows like cannibalism. Like it follows this girl and her mother who live in the woods. And every now and then someone will like knock on the door and they'll eat them, essentially, is what I understand. I could be totally off base, but that's all I've heard about this book. I'm interested as cannibalism as a metaphor for love or whatever the fuck that trend is. I love the cover so much. I think it's so cool. And I just can't wait to read this. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to love it, which is why I bought it instead of just reading it off of Libby. So I'm hoping that that prediction that I'm going to love it is right. Otherwise, it's going to suck. But it'll be fine. Everything's fine. Okay, and then we're getting into a bunch of books that I bought at Barnes & Noble. So I guess I wasn't totally telling the truth when I said that this was in one big haul, like all at once. Because I think the rest of these books I bought all at once. But sometimes you just need to go to Barnes & Noble and spend an unruly amount of money. So... oh, wait, no, this wasn't from Barnes & Noble. Okay, the rest of the ones are, not this one. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, this is Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. This is the sequel to There, There. So I can't really talk about what this book is about. But There follows a group of Native Americans. They're all living in, oh my god, Oakland, California, I think. And they're all preparing for this first big Oakland powwow. This book takes place after and before that book, from what I understand. Like, it's taking place, it follows characters from that book, like, after the events of that book, but also traces their lineage back to, what's it called, Carlisle Indian Industrial School, which, if you don't know, was the first, like, Indian boarding school in the United States. It's notorious, it's awful, it's torturous, and I think, like, someone who was involved in the first book, their family was put through that. So I actually studied Indian boarding schools when I was in law school a bit, and so it's a topic that's like, I hate saying I'm interested in it, because it's almost like saying I'm interested in like the Holocaust. Like, why would I be interested in that? That's awful. But I think it's a really important subject to learn about and to like kind of come to terms with in our history. And so I'm really interested to see what Tommy Orange does with this, and I just loved There so much. It's one of my favorite books I've read so far this year, so I can't wait to pick up the sequel. Next is kind of a weird book for me to pick up, I think, and that is The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. This is a classic novel. This is a novel that kind of exposed like the brutal conditions in Chicago stockyards at the turn of the century. And this is just a really important book to expose like social justice. Like, it was a really important book historically. I think after this, though, people kind of didn't fully get the message. Like, people were astonished at where their food came from, and it set in a lot of like industry regulations for meat packing services and like butchering and stuff like that. But I believe the author was also trying to explore the social injustice of the immigrants in these working conditions, and that part of the message wasn't really picked up as much, from what I understand. Either way, this is a really important novel. I believe the author was also a socialist, which makes me want to pick it up because I always want to read more socialist literature. And yeah, I'm excited about this. I don't know why. I just think I'm really going to like it because that social justice angle. Like, do I really want to read about Chicago stockyards at the turn of the century? Maybe not. But I think I'm going to find it interesting regardless because I can find almost anything interesting. So I think I'm going to like it. I forgot I got this one. This one also wasn't from Barnes & Noble, but the rest of them are. This is also another poetry collection, and that is Devotions by Mary Oliver. Now, this book I also picked up when I was in the middle of Sylvia Plath's biography, so I think that biography really convinced me that I could like poetry, and here's hoping, because that would be great. Mary Oliver is a poet that I have just heard such wonderful things about. I flipped through this when I was in the store in San Diego, and I liked some of the writing, and I'm just hoping I'm going to love it. Fingers crossed. I really want to give poetry a shot. Like, I want to be able to be a poetry girly. And I keep convincing myself maybe I just haven't picked up the right poetry. Maybe I need to, like, ease myself into it a bit more. And since this poet is so beloved, I really think I want to start here, like, maybe even before the Sylvia Plath poetry. So, we will see. Then we have a book that I had never heard of before I saw it in Barnes & Noble, and I just picked it up on a whim. And that is Time Shelter by Georgi Gospanidov. I don't know, I'm sorry, I can't say that. I think he's Hungarian, right? Is he Hungarian? Bulgarian, sorry. Sorry, Bulgaria, I mixed you up. Anyway, this book follows our main character who opens a clinic for the past, which offers inspired treatment for Alzheimer's. Each floor reproduces a decade in minute detail, helping patients synchronize with their internal time. But as the charade becomes more convincing, an increasing number of healthy people seek out the clinic as a time shelter, which results in an unexpected conundrum whereby the past begins to invade the present. It sounds so interesting. And again, my grandmother suffered from dementia, so I'm really interested in things that deal with like Alzheimer's and dementia because they're very similar. I just think this is going to be so interesting. Like, I can't describe it in any other word. I thought the premise was so cool, and that's why I picked it up. And I think it's an award-winning international sensation. I thought it won the Booker, it won the International Booker Prize in 2023. That also influenced my picking it up. I think it'd be really fun to do a video where I read, like, the winners of prizes. If that's something you'd be interested in seeing, let me know down below, because maybe I'll save that book for that video. But I think it would be cool to do, like, the last 5 years of the Booker Prize and the last 5 years of the Pulitzer Prize, like, stuff like that. I don't know, let me know if that would be something you'd be interested in seeing. Next is a really beefy book, and I don't know when I'm going to get around to this. How many pages is this? Why does it say 65? That's oh my god, did it start? Whoa, okay. The book starts at page like 900 something, and it ends on page 1. Okay, that's very interesting. I'm very intrigued. This is The Books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk. I don't know how to say her last name. That was a complete guess, so I'm so sorry if I'm getting it wrong. Polish last names, I also have one. No one can pronounce my last name, so I don't take offense, so I just hope other people don't. Anyway, I don't really know how to describe this book, so I'm going to read some of the back to you. This book takes place in the mid-18th century, and it follows this man who's a Jew of mysterious origins, and he arrives in Poland as a new unrest begins to sweep Europe. Visited by what seem to be ecstatic experiences, Jacob Frank casts a charismatic spell. In the decade to come, he and his increasingly fervent followers will crisscross the Habsburg and Ottoman empires as he reinvents himself again and again, converts to Islam and then Catholicism, is I don't know that word, I've never seen the word before, pilloried as a heretic one moment, hailed as the Messiah the next. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I think I have do I only have one book by this author on my TBR? I might have more. I know there's a lot of books by this author that I want to read. I've never read one yet. But I'm kind of convinced this author is going to be a new favorite. And this book just seems so good, and it was so beefy, and I love a good big book, so I had to pick it up. I had no other choice. Then we've got Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov. This book, I can't think of the name of the book I'm thinking. It's like Vanessa and the Night, or no, not that. Vanessa, Victoria, Violet, I don't know. There was a recent book that was published in 2016 or 2018 as a response to the Me Too movement, and it followed this girl. It was kind of a retelling of Lolita. I can't think of the fucking name of this book. It's driving me crazy. It was kind of a retelling of Lolita, but it followed a woman who, when she was younger, had a relationship with her teacher. He raped her. He would groom her. But she, to this day, has always viewed that relationship as her first love. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about all this is because this book references Pale Fire, I'm pretty sure, extensively. And ever since I read that book, I wanted to pick this one up. I have read Lolita by this author, and I thought it was an amazing book. But I read it when I was 15. But I remember the writing being really impressive, and I've wanted to pick up more by this author ever since. I do have one other book by him on my TBR. I'm not sure which one it is. It's down here somewhere. I don't feel like looking. This book seems really weird, though. It says it includes a 999-line poem by the reclusive genius John Shade, an adoring foreword and commentary by Shade's self-styled Boswell, Dr. Charles Kimbolt, I don't know how to say any of this, Dr. Charles Kimbolt, a darkly comic novel of suspense, literary idolatry, and one-upmanship and political intrigue. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm doing. The 999-line poem really intimidates me, to be honest. But like I said, I've wanted to read more by this author, and that one book I liked referenced this book, so it just made me want to pick it up even more. And I was in Barnes & Noble, and I just lost control. That really explains the reason I picked this up, but it's okay. Next, we have Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This is a Black classic, and that's mainly the reason I picked it up. I actually don't know much about this book. I've just heard it referenced to, all my life, I feel. It says that this is an enduring Southern love story sparkling with wit, beauty, and heartfelt wisdom. It doesn't really give any details as to the plot, but I just know this is a book that I've wanted to read for a while simply because of its status as a classic, and because it's a classic by a Black author. I had to pick it up. Had to. No choice in the matter. Next is a book that I've wanted to pick up for a while now, ever since it came up. It's just, the cover has intrigued me, and that is Blackout by Justin Therese. What is this book about? I don't even know what this is a book about. I remember reading the description and thinking it was really cool. I don't even know where the fucking description is now. Does it say? Okay, I found it. So this book takes place out in a desert in a place called the Palace, where a young man tends to a dying soul, someone he once knew briefly but who's haunted the edges of his life, Juan Gay. This book also contains accounts collected in the early 20th century from queer subjects by a queer researcher, Jan Gay, whose groundbreaking work was then co-opted by a committee, her name buried. The voices of these subjects have been filtered, muted, but it is possible to hear them from within and beyond the text, in Juan's tattered volumes, has been redacted with black marker on nearly every page. As Juan waits for his end, he and the narrator recount for each other moments of joy and oblivion. They resurrect loves, lives, mothers, fathers, minor heroes. In telling their own stories and the story of the book, they resist the ravages of memory and time. The past is with us, beside us, ahead of us. What are we to create from its gaps and erasures? I don't know, man. It just sounds so interesting. I think I've seen a lot of people review this and love it as well. So it's kind of a peer pressure part, even though no one is telling me to buy this book or pressuring me in any way. It's all my imagination. But I'm really excited about this one. It also was a National Book Award winner. So that just, again, I can do that winner video if you'd like me to. The books I'm piling on top of my bed and they're about to fall over. So let's continue. The next book I'm so excited about, and that is Shirley Jackson's The Bird's Nest. I love Shirley Jackson, and by that I mean I've only read 2 of her books, and I really love The Haunting of Hill House. And ever since I read that, I just want to read more and more of her work. This book follows a 23-year-old who's working a doll museum job, but she begins to suffer terrible migraines and backaches, so she's taken to seeing a psychologist who has these unusual tendencies. Slowly, we learn that Elizabeth is not just one girl, but 4 separate and competing self-destructive personalities. Sounds so good. I'm a little bit worried because Shirley Jackson was writing in a time when mental health was highly stigmatized. So I'm kind of worried that this is just going to take multiple personality disorder and characterize it as something evil. Praying that's not the case because I really like Shirley Jackson. But we're going to go into it, we're going to find out is a thing. And I'm also excited to read this because I also have a biography of Shirley Jackson that I really want to read. But I feel like I can't read it until I've read more of her work. So I need to get on that. After that, we have 5 Ways to Forgiveness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I still don't really fully this is in her Hainish novels. It's a companion. It tells the story of the planet Whirl. I can't say. I have a speech impediment, guys. I can't say that. And it's colony planet Yowei and how the societies are shaped by the legacies of slavery and revolution. So, I love Ursula K. Le Guin. Some of her work has really impacted me. Some of it hasn't been as impactful, but I've still really liked it. So I immediately wanted to pick this up just because it's Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm confused by this, is what I was trying to say in the beginning, because I think this is a newly published book, but Ursula K. Le Guin is dead. So I don't know if this is something that they found unfinished and they finished it, or they just had a draft of it. I'm confused at the origin of this book. I'm still going to read it. I love how Ursula K. Le Guin talks about social issues in a science fiction world. And I love the way that she explores new ideas. And so I think that the fact that this book focuses on colonization and slavery sounds really good. I can't wait to read her interpretation of that in a sci-fi world and its ramifications. I just really love this author and I want to pick up anything by her. I have so many books by her on my TBR too. I didn't need to pick this up because I have so many. But this one in particular, its subject matter just seems really interesting to me. And then, the very last book that I picked up in Barnes & Noble, and the last book of its book haul, is Wise Blood by Flannery O'Connor. This is a classic of 20th century literature, and it follows this young man who falls under the spell of a blind street preacher and his degenerate 15-year-old daughter. He then founds the Church Without Christ, but is still thwarted in his efforts to lose God. So this book deals a lot with religion. I think it's really interesting because from what I understand, Flannery O'Connor was very religious. It says she was a devout Catholic on the back here. So I'm interested to see her depiction of religion. I've also never read anything by Flannery O'Connor, but she's a classic author, So I want to read more classics and feel I'm more well-read in a stereotypical sense where I can interact with the classics. So that's really the reason I picked this up. I think Flannery O'Connor is most well known for her short stories, but I'm not really a short story person. So I picked up this novel and I'm hoping that I like it. I like things that deal with religion usually, but I usually read critiques of religion in my books, not something by a devout religious person. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see. I'm sure I'm going to love it. So there you go. Those are all the books that I've bought recently. I'm sure another book haul won't be coming for a while now because I am broke. But let me know if you've read any of these books down below. I would love to know your opinions. Also, let me know what books you've bought recently. And that's all for today. I will see you soon with another video soon. Thank you. Goodbye. Is that what I usually say? I don't remember what I usually say. Bye!